Hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the How to Life podcast. My name is Dr. Laura Jaggett, and right now you're listening to episode 77. Today's topic is about how to work through a problem that you're having or break through your personal wall by writing. Yes, it's sometimes nice to talk to others or seek outside help, but one of the best ways to help yourself is to write it out. Talk to yourself and listen to what you have to say. And wait, before you say, I don't know how to do that, or I don't like writing, or I'm not a good writer, I have an answer for that. Well, my guest today does. Treasa Edmond is a ghostwriter and a writing coach, and she's here today to tell you many of the benefits writing can bring to your life. Even if you're not a wordsmith or a poet, if you can speak, then you can express yourself, problem solve, overcome obstacles, and manifest your dreams by writing it all down. It is so much easier to look at what's going on in your life when you get it out of your head and put it down on paper. Treasa is going to tell you how easy it really is. Hi, Treasa. So happy to have you here on the How to Life podcast. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to talk with me.
Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yep, we have a great topic today, problem solving and how writing can help you do that. Please introduce yourself and tell the audience who you are and what you do.
Well, I have one of those ambiguous careers that no one really knows what they do. I am a ghostwriter, a professional ghostwriter, which means I love to write and not to any credit at all. But I'm also a writing coach. So when I'm ghostwriting, I write books and content for my clients based on their thoughts and ideas. So very little of it is my own thinking. I just tie it all together. I channel other people's voices is what I say. It gives the voices in my head something to do, which is wonderful. And then on the writing coaching, I help my clients become more comfortable with writing. Writing's stressful for a lot of people. So I try to help them find the joy in writing, which is what I experience.
How did you come to find the joy in writing? Did you always love doing it, or is it something you developed over the years?
I developed it as a child through reading. I read everything I could get my hands on. I don't know that I understood it all, but I loved words and I loved how they strung them together. I didn't really start writing for myself until I was in college, and I had a professor who encouraged it and it blossomed. And then I forgot about it. And I went to corporate world, and it wasn't until a crisis point that I came back to it.
Did you come back to it to help you get over that crisis point?
I did.
It was a form of therapy for you.
Yes. I was so stressed and I didn't know what to do. So I started journaling. And through the process of journaling, I remembered why I loved writing.
Now, a lot of people, when they have problems, they'll think about it or they'll try to work through it in their head. But I find that putting pen to paper is much more powerful than trying to work it out within the confines of your brain. What do you think about that?
There's actually a very scientific basis for that. When we are dealing with an issue, if it gets bad enough, our brains go into lizard mode and we're all fight or flight, deal with it, get it done. But when we start writing or journaling or just putting our thoughts down on paper, we take control back by moving our thought processes to a different part of our brain, our creative center. So we become creative problem solvers instead of fight or flighters.
Did you forget about that when you were in the corporate world? It took that crisis point in your life for you to realize that your brain works differently when you express your thoughts and feelings on paper.
Yes, I was dreading going to work every day. I was actually physically sick from the stress of work. And I was just at a stopping point. Every morning I'd get up and I'd be like, I don't want to go there. Someone gave me a journal and it was really pretty. And I was like, you know what? It's a shame just to let this sit here. So I'm going to write in it. And so I started by writing all of the things that were bothering me, which seems negative, but I later found out it's actually a type of journaling called expressive writing. And through expressive writing, you're opening your body to healing and your brain. And it worked for me. It taught me that I love writing. It gave me the courage to leave that job and to go into a job in the writing field. I just wrote everything down. And once I kind of reached the end of it, I'm not a repeater, so I didn't keep writing the same negative things. So once I purged them, which is what happens for most people, they started looking for other things to write about. So I wrote about the positives. Funny thing my cat did that day, or, I was enjoying my car or saw a particular house that I really loved and I remembered why I loved it. So I started adding those little things in, which are very inconsequential to anyone else, but to me, they mattered.
Well, I think that's part of a gratitude list, right? Just writing down these lovely little things that seem inconsequential, but when you add them all up, become quite profound and big.
Yeah, I think journaling brings balance to your life in a big way because you get to experience both sides of that. But as I started writing positive things, I realized at some point in the drudgery of life, I'd stopped dreaming, which I know a lot of people listening to this are probably going to be a little younger. So their dreams are really still big in their head. Write them down and hold yourself accountable for them. And that's what I did. I started writing down my dreams and working towards them, even if it was one tiny thing I could do. So I took baby steps through that process of writing things down.
It's kind of like a vision board. I mean, a lot of people will do a vision board where they'll put pictures up on a board, but you can do the same thing with writing. It's more than a goals list because then you can fill in the details of it.
Right. And I actually have some of my clients use vision boards as writing prompts because they're more visually oriented. So I'll have them pull 5 pictures about a certain topic, create a vision board, and then write a story about each picture. And it doesn't even matter how relevant it is to their life. That process of starting the writing just gets it going. It opens up whole new ways of thinking in your life.
What kind of problems can writing help with?
I've journaled about jobs, finances, my dream house, which I'm still not there yet, but it's still in my journal, family problems, relationships. But I've also talked about fears, sorrows, my dreams, the really abstract things. And, by talking out to myself or to my very non-judgmental, non-attention wandering journal, it would sit there and listen to everything I wrote down. I was able to talk through that. And sometimes if you talk about the worst possible thing that can happen, nothing is actually that bad after that.
That's true. When you write it down, what's the worst that can happen? And you actually write it down, you say, oh, that's it. All right, I can deal with that. And when you can deal with worst case scenario, it just makes going through it so much better. There won't be any surprises. There's not going to be the rug pulled out from under you because
that's the key to adulting.
It really, really is. How about jobs? Let's say in your case, you hated your job or you were looking for something else. How did you journal your way out of that?
Well, like I said, I started with all of the negatives, the different things I didn't like. I wanted to work in something where I could express myself and be proud of what I was doing. So I wanted to truly make a difference instead of just saying I was making a difference, which is what was in that job. So I started to journal about the parts of myself that might be fulfilled, kind of like a pros and cons list, but I made myself go deeper. I made myself talk about, so I'm good with words. What does that mean? Should I edit? Should I write? What other things can you do with words? There's copywriting, there's marketing stuff. Then I started moving towards the positive. What kinds of things would I like to look for? A lot of people talk about manifesting. And I used to never be a big believer in it. But the more I wrote about what I was looking for, the more opportunities like that I saw. And then one of them took me. So, it was the first one I applied for and I got it right off.
I love manifesting. I love the whole concept of it. And really all it is creative visualization in your mind or on paper. You're writing about what you would do if you were in this situation, what it feels like. And when you start feeling it, it becomes a reality in your imagination. Before you know it, you turn around and it has manifested in the 3D reality that we live in.
Yes. And I compare this to cars. You get a new car and you're like, I love this car. And then all of a sudden you see them everywhere. Before that, you never saw one.
Right.
So life is the same way, I think. If you embrace something in your brain and in your spirit, then you start seeing it in other people and other places. And that's huge, I think.
Yeah. So writing, let's say for building confidence, let's say you're not confident about something. What are your suggestions for that?
I've done this. I've kind of written myself a verbal pep talk. I actually did this before a job interview. It's kind of a challenge for me at job interviews to just make them want me. So I will sit down and I'll write down all of the things I can do that more than meet their qualifications. And then if they ask me a question, I have 50 things I can do that meet that. Which one do you want to hear about? And it helps. I think that confidence, especially in situations where people are kind of judging you, even if it's for a job, your art project, they're judging. If you're standing there looking confident because you know that you did the best you could, or you are the best fit for that, people know it. And your attitude is honestly about 80% of the process.
So basically you can just script your confidence. And because you've written it out, you've read it, you've said it, you've rehearsed it, when you have an answer right on the tip of your fingers, you don't have that stress of being unprepared.
Yeah. Now, talking about scripting, I love this because there are two ways to do this. And I mean, psychologically, this is a big thing. You're going to have a conversation with someone and it's going to be tricky. Your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. You're really upset. You're talking it through in your head. By the time you actually get to that conversation, you are so worked up that you just snap the very first thing they say. How often does that happen to you?
It happens to all of us. We create these scenarios in our head. It's never a good thing.
Right. So what I have found is that when I write that conversation down instead, I tend to give the person more of a benefit of a doubt. It's interesting how they become a character instead of a person I'm mad at. And a character in a book, you're more lenient with them. You're like, they're on a journey too. They're going to come to a crisis point at some point. It also helps me know, okay, this is a very long conversation I've just written down. These are the points that actually really matter to me. None of the rest of that does. So you can then go into the real conversation and say, look, I've thought about this. There are 3 things here that are really bothering me. Would you just listen to me talk to you about them? And then you can respond. And then you can just go into that and you're so much more calm.
What about if you take the other person and you script them receptive to what you say? And how does that make you feel? Non-receptive. What can you do to soften that person? And you write it out. Again, you're being prepared. You're not being surprised by responses, and you're more clear and succinct about what you're saying.
Right. Because you're not reacting. There's
no emotion.
Right.
That's
so
huge.
You still have the emotion. You still have it, but it's not controlling you. You're controlling it. And I think that's what scripting helps with.
We've all heard of writer's block. How do you get through a block when you're writing?
Well, I deal with this with clients all the time. I put exercises for them. Sit down and start writing something. Doesn't matter if it's your grocery list. It doesn't matter if it's step-by-step directions that you would give your kid on how to walk to school. Just write something down. And eventually, if you keep writing, you'll start writing about the thing that really matters. That doesn't work 100% of the time, but it does work most of the time. If that doesn't work, then get structured about it. You know what you want to write about. You know what matters. And this is the same thing with anything in life. You know, if you're facing, say, a crisis at school and you're failing a class and you need to get out of this situation, you know you need to ask for help. You're not sure who, so you sit down and you try to decide who. You sit down and write steps. So which of these are going to work best? And it's the same thing with any kind of block. You write down the steps and then you work from each of those to see which one's going to work. And then you choose one.
But there are people who will say, oh, I'm not a writer. I have no imagination. I don't know how to do this. What do you tell those people?
Can you talk?
And when they say yes,
then you get a dictation software. Your phone will do it. Your computer will do it. There are all kinds of free programs. You can just write with your voice. Talk it out. That's what a journal is you're writing through your fingers instead of your voice. If you don't feel comfortable typing or writing with a pen, then just do it verbally. I have one client who is massively into journaling now, and she hates writing, but she does it on her very, very long commute every day. And she dictates to her phone. And she said it cracks her up sometimes because, dictation software, it's not always right. And she'll be talking about a very serious subject and it'll say something like pumpernickel in the middle of it. And when she's reading it back, she's just absolutely tickled and it shifts that for her. It's a sharing and a recalibrating of your brain. And it's awesome. I think people who aren't doing it are missing out.
That's true. You get stuck in your head.
Yep.
Did you read the Harry Potter stories?
Every single one, like 5 times.
So have I. There's a part where Professor Dumbledore is taking his thoughts out of his head and putting them in the pensive. It's the same thing. And Harry said, why are you doing that? He says, to clear my mind so that I can look at what is in my head and see it from an objective standpoint, from a bird's eye view. That's what happens when you write things down.
Exactly. It brings perspective.
And clarity.
Yes. I go back through my journals periodically, and it's really powerful to see when I was struggling and know now how I got through that and how my thought processes then were either way off base or right on. And also the joy. I could see those moments of joy so much more clearly. I think that recording of the honest emotions in your life can really be a powerful tool later in your life. They help you grow. And isn't growth the point?
Yeah, that's what we're here for. Is there a mindset that you should be in before you write? Like with meditation, you kind of want to be calm before you meditate. Should you get into a certain mood or mindset or intention before writing? Or should you just start writing and then work it out through that process?
Writing a book, absolutely. If you're just journaling, take whatever emotion you're feeling and write it down. But when I'm writing a book, if I am stressed or upset about something, if I've had an argument, I will actually either go journal, or if I'm really, really stressed, I go watch an action movie where lots of people die really quickly. For some reason, that just, I know it's funny, right? But I can walk out of one of those and feel absolutely relaxed. I'm sure there's something sick and twisted in my brain that causes that, but that's just who I am. And that helps clear my focus so that I can focus on writing. Sometimes I can sit and listen to classical music for a little while. You know, they have the study music. It's a specific meter, specifically in classic music, that it activates your brain so that you just focus so much more clearly. And if you look up focus music or study music, it actually works. So when I'm going to be writing a book, right now I'm ghostwriting a book for a gentleman, and I'm starting the writing process this week, and I will be listening to a lot of that music because it blocks everything else out. It doesn't make me think about it instead of what I'm focusing on. So that focus zone, it's absolutely powerful.
Treasa, where can we find more about you?
I have a website still in progress, but we are working on it with lots of writing resources. It's called thewritingmindset.com. And we're also on Instagram at The Writing Mindset. And on our website, we also are going to have links to some of the journals that we've actually created. They're available on Amazon, and they have all kinds of cool pictures on the front, because seriously, if you're going to write all that stuff down, it might as well be something that makes you happy.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on here to talk about writing. It's not all lost, guys. There are ways to solve problems, to work it out. Writing is your own personal mental health therapist.
Yep. It's the cheapest therapist you can buy, and probably the most effective, because most therapists will tell you to journal.
Thank you so much, Treasa. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Laura.
I've said this many times before. No one knows what's best for you better than you. If you would like to try this, grab a pen and paper and see what comes out. You'll be surprised at how easy it gets once you get rolling. If you enjoyed this episode, please let me know by hitting the 5-star review button on Apple Podcast or whatever platform you're listening on. I would love to hear your comments about this show as well. You can contact me at howtolife.com or send me a direct message on Instagram or Facebook at LauraJaggett_howtolife. You can access this episode again, share it, and learn more about Treasa Edmond, her website, thewritingmindset.com, as well as her coaching and everything she has to offer in this episode's show notes at howtolife.com/077. Did you like this topic? Well, check out some of the solo podcasts that I've done that involve some of the writing exercises Treasa talked about. Episode 4 is about asking yourself what is best for you. Episode 2, the benefits of keeping a gratitude list, is writing about the positive things in your life to help you feel better. And episode 50, the list of positive aspects, is a writing prompt to help you feel better about anyone or anything. Again, all of these links can be found at howtolife.com/077. I thank you so much for staying with me until the end. We are complete for now. I look forward to meeting with you again next time. I'm wishing you a great rest of the week and reminding you that nothing is so big that you can't rewrite the script and put yourself in a better story. Be well, everyone. You got this.